Darkness covered the edge of the galaxy like a heavy cloak. Stars flickered, distant and cold, while a single signal traveled through the void. It was faint at first, barely noticeable against the endless black, but it carried a message that could change everything. Earth's last transmission blinked across countless systems, a warning, a challenge, a promise. You wanted war, now you'll see humanity unbound. No one knew why humanity had waited so long. Other civilizations had assumed Earth was weak, unprepared, and small, a planet that could be conquered without thought. For centuries, alien fleets patrolled the neighboring systems, laughing at old human myths and imagining Earth as nothing more than a minor annoyance. But tonight, the galaxy would learn a dangerous truth. On the command deck of the Tkara flagship, Admiral Vreln stared at the holographic display. Ships blinked like fireflies in formation, ready to strike the blue planet at the edge of the quadrant. His claws flexed against the control console. "Scanners show no defense," he said, his voice sharp and confident. "They cannot fight back. Earth is alone. Prepare the invasion." But then, without warning, the display shifted. A new blip appeared. One small vessel, unlike any design Vreln had seen before, moved silently into the fleet's path. It was sleek, dark, and terrifyingly precise. The humans had sent something. Something old. Something deadly. The first reports came almost immediately. Entire squadrons of Tkara ships vanished in seconds, as if swallowed by invisible fire. Communications scrambled. Panic spread through the fleet like a disease. "What is this?" Vreln roared. "How can one ship do this?" Back on Earth, the human crew aboard the Aurora's Wrath moved with quiet precision. Captain Elena Ward didn't smile, didn't celebrate. She simply issued orders with calm authority. Every movement was calculated, every strike deliberate. Humanity's deadliest weapons were awake at last, and they had been waiting for this moment for centuries. The ship's engines roared as it cut through the void. Alien missiles exploded harmlessly around it, their guidance systems fried before impact. Elena leaned over the navigation panel, her eyes scanning star charts with ease. "Target the command vessels first," she said. "Then we clean the rest. Keep the survivors alive, they will tell the story of what happens when humanity fights back." Meanwhile, on a distant observation station, the alien scientists recorded everything in disbelief. They had studied Earth for generations, measuring its growth, cataloging its biology, predicting its behavior. All their calculations had failed. They had assumed that humans would surrender, that Earth's armies could never reach beyond their solar system. But the humans were not only out there, they were unstoppable. The first human strike hit like a meteor. One Tkara command ship evaporated in a blinding flash of energy, its pieces scattered into the void. The fleet tried to reorganize, but panic spread faster than they could respond. Fear was alien to their kind. They were used to dominance, to controlling every system they touched. And now, fear burned through their ranks. On board the Aurora's Wrath, Elena's voice cut through the chaos. "Keep moving. No hesitation. The galaxy is watching. Every alien who survives today will know that we are different. That we are human." Her crew, trained for decades in secrecy, followed without question. They didn't need fear, they had focus. They had discipline. And they had centuries of preparation hidden beneath the surface of a planet that everyone had thought harmless. In the Tkara council chambers, the warlords debated. "This cannot be possible," one shrieked. "One ship, it destroys thousands." Another growled, shaking with rage. "We underestimated them. We assumed Earth was weak, primitive, and now we are paying for our arrogance." The human ship moved like a shadow across the battlefield. Every alien weapon fired at it was countered, every attempt to surround it failed. And still, the ship pressed forward, leaving destruction in its wake. Elena watched the chaos unfold on her screens, her face calm, almost serene. This was the moment humanity had been waiting for, a moment when the galaxy realized that Earth was not to be trifled with. And then, a faint signal from deep space caught the crew's attention. Another transmission, faint but unmistakable, from a system no human ship had ever been seen in before. "Reinforcements," murmured Elena, a glimmer of excitement in her eyes. "The game has only begun." The first battle was over in less than an hour. Entire fleets lay in ruins, their once proud banners floating like ashes in the void. But for the humans, it was only the beginning. They were unbound now. The galaxy had awakened a sleeping giant. And from the darkness of space, humanity's voice echoed loud and clear. "You wanted war, now you will see the price of underestimating us." No one in the galaxy would ever look at Earth the same way again. The stars were alive with movement, but this time, it was different. The humans were no longer hiding. From deep in uncharted space, a fleet of ships emerged, their shapes unfamiliar but unmistakably human. They glinted in the starlight, dark steel with glowing energy lines, engines humming like controlled storms. The Aurora's Wrath led the formation, but hundreds more followed, all moving as one mind. Captain Elena Ward watched the new arrivals with steady eyes. She didn't smile, but inside, a spark of satisfaction burned. The humans had waited, hidden their strength, prepared in silence while the galaxy assumed they were weak. Now, the waiting was over. On the Tkara flagship, Admiral Vreln's claws trembled over the console. His scanners picked up the reinforcements, and his face turned pale beneath his scales. "Impossible," he hissed. "More ships, from where? This system was empty. How did they?" But before he could finish, a beam of energy shot across space and tore through the flank of his fleet. Ships exploded in blue fire, metal twisting and burning as alarms blared across every bridge. The Tkara crews fought to respond, but the humans were already inside their formations, striking with surgical precision. Each movement was perfect, each attack calculated. It was as if the humans had been anticipating every tactic the aliens might use. On board the Aurora's Wrath, Elena's voice was calm but firm. "Deploy interceptors. Target their artillery ships first. Keep the main fleet safe." Her crew moved as if they had rehearsed this for years, because they had. Every human vessel had trained for decades in secret, perfecting strategies that no alien mind could predict. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the news of the human return spread like wildfire. Alien diplomats and merchants, who had once mocked Earth, were now sending frantic messages to the Council. "Do something," they pleaded. "We misjudged them. Humanity is unstoppable." But it was too late. The humans had already crossed the front lines. The first reinforcements hit the Tkara flagship. Hundreds of micromissiles and plasma torpedoes struck at once, creating a storm of destruction. The flagship's shields flared under the onslaught but soon buckled. Fires erupted, corridors shook, and Vreln's war room became a chaos of screams and panicked officers. How can one planet produce this?" he demanded, eyes wide in disbelief. Elena's ship moved like a phantom, appearing where no one expected, vanishing before the enemy could fire. "We fight smart," she said, almost to herself. "We fight as humans. That is enough." Her crew understood. They did not fight like the aliens, with blind rage and sheer numbers. They fought with strategy, patience, and intelligence. In one sweep, human interceptors disabled the fleet's communication arrays. Alien warships could no longer coordinate. They fired blindly, each shot wasted, as the humans circled them, striking where they were weakest. Entire wings vanished in moments, leaving the remaining crews frozen in terror. Far from the battlefield, in a remote observation post, an alien historian recorded the events. His eyes were wide as he scrawled notes into his databanks. This is not warfare as we know it," he whispered. "Humans, they are evolution itself. They fight with a mind we cannot predict, with patience we cannot match. And they are everywhere at once." Back in the midst of battle, Elena ordered her next move. "Prepare the long-range cannons. Target their command centers. We cannot allow them to regroup." She paused, then added quietly, "They will remember today forever." The human ships moved in a deadly dance, weaving between debris, dodging fire, striking in perfect timing. Vreln's fleet was collapsing. He roared in frustration, but no plan remained. Every alien tactic failed before it even began. Fear had replaced confidence, and desperation filled the gaps in their strategy. Suddenly, a distant explosion shook the galaxy. A Tkara ship had tried to flee, but a human destroyer had intercepted it before it could jump to hyperspace. The vessel was gone, shredded into fragments that floated across the stars. The remaining aliens realized the humans did not just fight, they hunted. Elena watched it all from her bridge. Her eyes scanned the battlefield with focus. "We give them a chance to survive," she said. "We do not kill without purpose. But we show them what happens when they threaten Earth." The words were soft, but in every human ship, they echoed with truth. This was not just a battle. It was a warning. By the time the human fleet withdrew slightly, the Tkara forces were scattered and broken. Ships drifted in silence, their crews stunned, afraid to move, afraid to fight. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy's predators had tasted defeat at the hands of a single, unyielding species. And far above the shattered remnants of the fleet, the humans hovered silently. The message was clear: Earth was no longer a quiet planet at the edge of space. Humanity had arrived. And the galaxy had no choice but to acknowledge that a new power had awakened, one that would not rest, one that would not forgive, and one that would never be underestimated again. The battle was won. But the war had only just begun. The galaxy was quiet now, but only on the surface. The shock of the humans' attack had left alien fleets scattered and broken, but whispers traveled faster than light. Every corner of the quadrant trembled with fear. "Earth is awake," the messages read. "Humanity fights beyond imagination. Prepare yourselves." Captain Elena Ward did not celebrate. On the bridge of the Aurora's Wrath, she leaned forward, eyes scanning the next sector of space. "They will come back," she said softly. "And next time, they will bring everything." Her crew nodded, understanding without question. Humanity had won the first battle, but this was only the beginning. The Tkara War Council had not sat idle. In hidden systems, they rebuilt their fleets in secret, crafting weapons designed to match the humans' unexpected tactics. But even their greatest engineers, their most brilliant strategists, could not predict the humans' patience, their intelligence, their drive. Elena knew this. That was why they moved slowly, carefully, learning every move before striking. A week passed in tense silence. On board the Aurora's Wrath, crew members worked tirelessly. Ships were repaired, weapons recalibrated, systems upgraded. Every detail mattered. Humanity could not afford mistakes. Elena walked among them, her presence calm but commanding. "The galaxy expects fear," she told them. "We give precision. We give control. And when they strike, they will not see what hits them until it is too late." Then the warning came. A distant star system flared with explosions. The humans arrived just in time to witness the Tkara fleet emerging from hyperspace, hundreds of ships, sleek and black, weapons bristling. They had learned from their defeat. They had adapted. And they were coming not to fight cautiously, they were coming to annihilate. Elena's eyes narrowed. "This is not a test," she said. "This is war. Prepare for full engagement." She turned to her tactical officer. "Deploy drones. Scan their formations. Find the weak points. Every second counts." The battle began with a flash that lit up the void. Tkara warships fired in unison, plasma and missiles streaking through space. The humans moved like shadows among the stars, dodging, weaving, striking where the enemy least expected. Ships exploded in fireballs, metal twisting and tearing as lasers cut with surgical precision. Aboard the Aurora's Wrath, Elena coordinated the fleet. "Flank their left wing," she ordered. "Concentrate fire on the largest vessels. Protect the civilians in the sector. We leave no mistakes." Her voice was calm, but every word carried weight. Her crew moved as one, trained for decades in the art of war that the galaxy had never imagined humans capable of mastering. In the midst of chaos, a Tkara commander barked orders. Encircle them. Destroy the human fleet. But every plan they executed failed. The humans were always one step ahead. Drones intercepted missiles. Shields absorbed blasts that would have shattered smaller ships. And in every engagement, human ships struck decisively, leaving survivors stunned and confused. On the Aurora's Wrath, Elena noticed something unusual. A small cluster of alien ships moved differently, almost carefully, almost cautiously. She frowned. They are testing us, she said. They are learning from every attack. Do not underestimate them. Her tactical officer nodded. Shall we engage? Elena paused, her mind racing. Not yet. Let them reveal their plan. Then we strike where it hurts most. Minutes stretched into hours. The Tkara fleet tested the humans, probing defenses, firing long-range weapons, retreating before a counterattack could reach them. But the humans did not panic. They adapted, learning the enemy's patterns faster than the aliens could change them. The patience and intelligence of Earth's warriors became a weapon as lethal as any cannon. Then came the moment that would mark history. The humans executed a coordinated strike across multiple fronts simultaneously. Heavy cruisers targeted power cores, interceptors disabled command systems, and stealth ships cut communications. In minutes, the alien fleet was thrown into disarray. Their formations collapsed. Panic spread like wildfire. Captain Elena watched the battlefield with a calm, calculating gaze. We show them strength, yes, she said softly. But more than strength, we show them control. Fear is not enough to win wars. Discipline is. Her crew followed her orders with precision, their movements almost poetic in their efficiency. The Tkara fleet retreated, battered and humiliated. Ships limped away through hyperspace, their commanders terrified to report to the council. The humans had won again, but this victory was different. It was no longer just a battle. It was a statement. Humanity was no longer a hidden power at the edge of the galaxy. They were the reckoning. And yet, deep in the shadows of a distant star system, another force watched the humans. Unseen, silent, calculating. They had observed the human strategy, studied their tactics, and waited for the perfect moment. The galaxy had never faced a threat like this, not from Earth, not from any corner of space. And soon, humanity would discover that the war was far bigger than even they had imagined. Elena knew this too. Her eyes scanned the stars, alert, unblinking. We are ready, she said. Whatever comes next, the galaxy will see one truth: humans do not back down. And those who challenge us will regret it. The human fleet sailed forward, shadows among the stars, unstoppable, unyielding, unbound. Silence followed the retreat of the Tkara fleet, but it was not peace. Across the galaxy, alarms blared in distant systems, ships scrambled, and alien leaders held emergency councils. Humanity had shattered the illusion that Earth was weak, and now every civilization watched nervously, calculating how to respond. On board the Aurora's Wrath, Captain Elena Ward didn't celebrate. Victory was a tool, not a reward. Her eyes scanned the star-filled void ahead. Sensors had picked up unusual readings, a signal so faint it could have been dismissed. But Elena recognized it immediately. This was no ordinary transmission. It was deliberate, calculated, waiting. Tactical, analyze that source, she ordered. Full spectrum. Life signs, energy signatures, movement patterns. Everything. The tactical officer nodded, fingers flying across the controls. Captain, it's unlike anything we've seen. Massive energy output, not Tkara, not any known species. It's almost like it's alive. Elena's brow furrowed. Alive. Yes, ma'am, the officer said. It responds to our scanners, but it doesn't move like a ship. More intelligent, adaptive, and it's massive, larger than any fleet we've ever encountered. A cold unease settled over the bridge. The human crew exchanged glances. They had trained for centuries, prepared for every possible scenario. But this was different. This was unknown. Elena stood, gripping the railing. Prepare interceptors. Ready the fleet. But do not engage unless provoked. We are not here to strike blindly. We observe. We learn. And then we act. As the fleet advanced, the readings became clearer. The massive entity, or structure, hovered between stars, its form shifting and rippling with energy. At first glance, it appeared like a dark nebula, but closer observation revealed intricate patterns, shapes that hinted at intelligence, technology beyond comprehension, and power that dwarfed entire fleets. Suddenly, a pulse of energy shot toward the human ships. Not a weapon, not an attack, but a scanning wave, probing their systems, their defenses, even their minds. The human crew felt it, a strange pressure, like the galaxy itself was studying them. Systems hummed, shields flared, and the bridge lights flickered under the energy pulse. Elena's voice was calm but firm. Maintain formation. Do not panic. Analyze and respond. The fleet worked in perfect synchronization, scanning the pulse, interpreting its data, adapting instantly. This was humans at their best. Patient, precise, unafraid, even in the face of the unimaginable. Then, almost as if acknowledging their presence, the massive entity moved. Stars warped around it, energy streams shifted, and a section of the structure opened like a doorway. From within, smaller ships, or something like ships, emerged. Sleek, dark, and lethal in appearance. Unlike anything humans had encountered, they moved as one, coordinated perfectly, but without aggression, for now. Tactical, Elena said, her voice sharp. How many? Too many to count accurately, ma'am, the officer replied. Formation is complex. They are testing our reactions. They are learning fast. Elena studied the display. She could feel the tension in her chest, the thrill of the unknown. This was not just a battle. This was a challenge. A test. The galaxy had unleashed something ancient, something that had remained hidden until humanity's rise drew its attention. We do not strike first, she said quietly. We observe. We adapt. We survive. This is what it means to be human. The entity pulsed again, sending waves of energy toward the fleet. But this time, humans responded instantly. Drones dispersed, shields adjusted frequencies, and the waves were deflected harmlessly. The unknown presence paused, almost curious. Then came a transmission, not in words, but in thought. A pulse that the human's neural interfaces could barely translate. Who awakens? Who dares enter the domain of the unbound? Elena's eyes narrowed. We are humanity. We do not hide. We do not submit. And we do not back down. The pulse lingered, and for a moment, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Stars shimmered unnaturally, energy cascaded like auroras, and every ship felt the weight of the moment. Humanity was no longer fighting just for survival. They were facing something older, something far beyond understanding. And yet, fear did not touch them. Discipline, strategy, and courage replaced doubt. Humanity had fought the impossible before. They had faced overwhelming odds and survived. This would be no different. The entity receded slightly, its smaller ships circling, observing. It was a test, and humanity had passed the first stage. But Elena knew that this was only the beginning. The real challenge was still ahead, waiting in the darkness beyond the stars. Prepare to follow, she ordered. We go where it leads. The galaxy is watching. And so are we. The Aurora's wrath and its fleet moved forward, into the unknown, into the shadow of something ancient, something unbound. Humanity was ready, but the galaxy would soon learn that even humans have limits, and that some forces were older, wiser, and far more dangerous than anything they had ever faced. The human fleet drifted through the star-strewn void, moving cautiously behind the massive entity. It was silent, almost serene, but every crew member felt the tension. This was no ordinary force. Every pulse of energy, every ripple in space, reminded them that they were facing something far older than any alien fleet. Captain Elena Ward stood on the bridge of the Aurora's Wrath, scanning the entity's movements. Her face was calm, but her mind raced. Tactical, keep every sensor active. Record everything. We need data, everything we can learn about this presence. Aye, ma'am, replied her officer. It's unlike anything we've ever seen. Its energy signatures are shifting constantly, adapting to our scans. Elena nodded. Then we adapt too. Humanity survives because we learn. Observe, calculate, respond. That is how we win. 4 hours, the fleet followed the entity, moving silently through the swirling currents of space energy. The smaller ships it had sent out observed them from all angles, moving like predators studying prey, but never striking. The humans didn't react hastily. Every maneuver, every adjustment, was deliberate. Then, without warning, a shockwave rippled through the fleet. Energy arcs danced along the hulls of human ships, shaking systems and disrupting communications. The entity was testing them again, but this time, the test was stronger, more aggressive. Status report, Elena demanded. Shields are holding, ma'am, the officer replied, fingers flying across the panels. Weapons are online, but it's not a direct attack. More like a warning pulse, trying to measure our response. Elena's eyes narrowed. A warning? Then we answer carefully. Prepare countermeasures, but do not fire unless I give the order. We are here to learn, not provoke. The humans adapted quickly. Shield frequencies adjusted, energy dampeners activated, and the pulse was deflected harmlessly. Every action was precise, controlled, and deliberate. Slowly, the entity seemed to pause, its massive form rippling in a pattern that felt like consideration. Then came the first communication, not in words, but as images and impressions projected directly into the fleet's neural systems. A world beyond comprehension appeared in their minds. Vast cities made of light, landscapes where energy flowed like water, creatures of impossible scale moving through the skies. The entity was showing them its history, its civilization, its power. Elena's hand tightened on the railing. It wants us to understand it, not just fight it. Her crew absorbed the visions, feeling awe mixed with caution. Humanity had faced death before, but this was different. This was knowledge, danger, and challenge combined. As the visions faded, the entity sent its smaller ships forward, not in attack, but in a coordinated demonstration. They moved through the fleet, weaving between human ships, testing response times, observing tactics, noting every reaction. Elena watched every movement closely. They want to see how we handle coordination, she said. Then we show them the best of humanity. The human fleet executed maneuvers so precise they looked like a dance. Interceptors moved to intercept, drones countered every probe, and the ship's shields adjusted in perfect unison. The entity's smaller ships flickered, paused, and retreated slightly, almost as if impressed. Hours passed. The humans followed, observing, adapting, surviving. Then, at last, the entity pulsed once more, this time, sending a signal of recognition. In their minds, the words formed clearly. You are worthy. But the test is not complete. The galaxy itself watches. Will you rise to meet what comes? Elena's eyes flashed with determination. We are humanity. We rise. We fight. We survive. And we will not be bound by fear. Her crew responded with a unified nod, their silence carrying the same unshakable message. The entity recoiled slightly, then opened a corridor through the starfield, a path that led deeper into uncharted space. Follow, the signal said, a command wrapped in curiosity rather than threat. See what lies beyond the veil. Elena hesitated for a moment, then gave the order. Set a course. Prepare for the unknown. The galaxy watches, but we do not flinch. Humanity moves forward. The fleet surged through the corridor, energy rippling around them like a river of stars. The unknown force followed, its smaller ships hovering on the edges, observing, testing, but never striking. Every human crew member felt the weight of history on their shoulders. This journey could reshape the galaxy, challenge civilizations, and redefine what it meant to be human. And somewhere deep within the entity, a thought, or something like a thought, began to form. It had watched countless species rise and fall, had seen civilizations crumble under their own arrogance. But humans were different. They did not fear, they did not hesitate, they adapted. And they were dangerous. Elena watched the stars ahead, her eyes calm, unwavering. Whatever waits for us, she said, almost to herself, the galaxy will know one truth: humans do not give up. We do not surrender. And those who think they can stop us will learn the hard way. The fleet pressed forward, into the unknown, into the shadow of something ancient and powerful. The test was far from over, but humanity had already proven one thing: they were unbound. The corridor of stars stretched endlessly before the human fleet, a bridge into the unknown. Every ship moved with precision, every crew member alert. This was no longer a simple test. The ancient entity had guided them here, and now the true challenge was beginning. Captain Elena Ward stood on the bridge of the Aurora's Wrath, her eyes scanning the void ahead. Tactical, report. Any threats? Her officer's hands flew across the panels. Captain, it's different now. The smaller ships are reorganizing, and there's something larger ahead. Massive energy signatures, larger than anything we've measured before. Elena's jaw tightened. They've been preparing. The test, it's a trap. Or a lesson. Either way, we proceed cautiously, but we do not retreat. The fleet moved closer, and the massive form of the entity revealed itself fully. It was immense, stretching across millions of kilometers, its surface shifting like liquid metal, pulsing with glowing patterns that seemed alive. Around it, hundreds of smaller ships moved with it in perfect synchronization, forming a deadly ballet of energy and motion. Status? Elena asked, voice calm but firm. Scans show multiple energy weapons, shields beyond our comprehension, adaptive systems. It's a fortress and a fleet combined, her officer replied. Elena nodded. Then we adapt. Humanity survives by learning faster than the enemy. Deploy drones, launch interceptors. Test their defenses. We do not attack blindly. The humans advanced, careful but deliberate. The smaller ships probed, firing bursts of energy that were absorbed or deflected with minimal effect. The humans learned quickly, adjusting shields and weapons to counter every move. Every strike, every counter, every maneuver was a dance of precision. Then, without warning, the entity pulsed. A wave of energy surged outward, disrupting communications, overloading shields on several human ships. Alarms blared, and crew members scrambled to stabilize systems. But Elena remained calm. Status, she shouted. Minor damage, ma'am. We've stabilized systems. They're testing us again. Elena's lips pressed together. Good. Let them test. Every move they make teaches us something. We will survive, we will adapt, and we will strike when the moment is ours. The fleet adjusted. Interceptors darted to positions of advantage, drones formed protective screens, and the humans began striking back, not with brute force, but with calculated precision. They targeted weak points in the smaller ships' formations, disrupting coordination, forcing the entity to react. For the first time, the massive form shifted defensively. Patterns on its surface rippled, energy flaring where the humans had struck. It was learning, adapting, but so were the humans. Every move was met with a counter, every strategy matched with strategy. Hours passed. The battle was not about destruction. It was a test of intelligence, endurance, and will. The humans were exhausted, their ships battered, but their determination never wavered. Elena watched her crew, proud but focused. We show strength not through force alone, she said quietly. We show it through patience, precision, and unity. This is human strength. The entity pulsed again, this time sending a wave of thoughts and impressions directly into their minds. You are resilient. You are clever. But will you rise when the final test comes? Elena's eyes hardened. We do not wait for permission. We rise because it is who we are. We are human, and we never back down. The entity's smaller ships regrouped, forming a massive formation around the colossal core. It was a warning, a signal, and a challenge all at once. The humans could strike, and many ships prepared to fire, but Elena held back. We observe. We learn. Then we act, she reminded them. Suddenly, a shockwave erupted from the heart of the entity. Energy cascaded through space, tearing at the very fabric of the void. The fleet rocked violently, shields flaring, systems overloaded. Several ships were badly damaged, some drifting without power. Panic flared in moments, but discipline held. Elena's calm voice echoed across the fleet. Steady. Adapt. Survive. The humans responded instantly, adjusting shields, rerouting power, coordinating repairs while maintaining formation. The entity watched, pulsing, observing. It tested them harder than before, but humanity endured. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the energy waves subsided. The entity paused, its core glowing steadily, patterns stabilizing. A message formed in the fleet's minds. You endure. You learn. You rise. The final test approaches. Elena's eyes narrowed, determination shining brighter than any star. Then we will be ready. Whatever comes, the galaxy will see one truth. Humans are not just survivors. We are unbound. And we will face anything. The fleet moved forward, battered but unbroken, into the shadow of the colossal entity. The final stage of the test loomed ahead, and the galaxy held its breath. Humanity was about to meet a force unlike any it had ever faced, and for the first time, the unyielding spirit of Earth would be measured against something older, wiser, and more dangerous than any enemy in history. The void before the human fleet shimmered with energy, the colossal entity looming like a god in the darkness. Its surface pulsed with light, rippling in patterns that were alive and intelligent. Every human ship trembled as though the galaxy itself was holding its breath. Captain Elena Ward stood at the bridge of the Aurora's Wrath, her eyes fixed on the enormous form. This is it, she said quietly, her voice steady. The final test. All we've learned, all we've endured, it comes down to this moment. Her tactical officer nodded. Energy readings are off the charts, ma'am. Their systems are adaptive beyond comprehension. Any mistake, and we risk everything. Elena's lips pressed together. Then there will be no mistakes. Humanity doesn't falter. We rise, or we die trying. That is who we are. The entity pulsed, sending waves of energy toward the fleet. Shields flared, systems groaned, and alarms screamed across the human ships. But the humans did not retreat. They had faced overwhelming odds before, the Tkara fleets, unknown hazards, ancient tests, and they had adapted, survived, and overcome. Tactical, countermeasures online. Fire when ready, but only when I give the order, Elena commanded. Her crew worked like a single organism, moving with precision and focus honed over decades. The smaller ships swarmed, probing defenses, testing limits. Interceptors darted between them, drones countered attacks, and shields adapted instantly. Every action was met with reaction, every move measured, every strike precise. Humanity was fighting not just with weapons, but with intelligence, patience, and unity. The colossal entity shifted, massive forms opening across its surface, revealing energy cores and structural nodes. A thought, or something like a thought, formed in the minds of the humans. Will you rise against the impossible? Will you endure the final trial? Elena's voice was calm, unwavering. We rise. We endure. We are human. And we do not surrender. The entity pulsed again, unleashing a surge of energy that rocked the fleet. Ships were thrown off course, weapons overloaded, and power systems flickered. For a moment, chaos threatened to take hold. But the humans held firm. Engineers rerouted energy, shields adjusted automatically, and drones moved to stabilize the formation. Elena gave the order. Now, strike the cores simultaneously. Focus all firepower. Precision first, strength second. A coordinated volley of missiles, energy blasts, and drones attacked the exposed cores. The entity flared violently, energy cascading across its surface. It reacted, adapting faster than ever, but humanity had learned, and their strikes were calculated perfectly. Nodes collapsed one by one, energy pulses faltered, and the entity's massive form shuddered. For the first time, it pulsed not in anger, but in recognition. Thoughts flowed into the minds of the humans. You are resilient. You are worthy. You do not fear. You rise, unbound. Elena's eyes shone. We do not fight for conquest. We fight to survive. We fight because it is who we are. Her crew responded in silent affirmation, every ship part of a single, unstoppable force. The entity recoiled, then shifted its massive form, opening a path through space. Smaller ships hovered on the sides, observing, no longer attacking. Humanity had passed the test, not by brute force, but by intelligence, courage, and unity. As the fleet moved through the corridor opened by the ancient presence, stars seemed to bend, energy rippled around them, and a calm spread across the human ships. The test was over. Humanity had endured the impossible and emerged victorious, not as conquerors, but as equals recognized by a force older than the galaxy itself. Elena's voice echoed across the fleet. We do not conquer blindly. We do not submit. We adapt, we endure, we rise. Let the galaxy remember this day. Let every species know what happens when humans are awakened, unbound, and unafraid. The colossal entity pulsed one final time, a sign of acknowledgement, then receded into the shadows of the stars. The smaller ships followed, leaving the humans alone to navigate the corridor. Humanity had faced the ultimate challenge and emerged victorious, not through sheer numbers, but through strategy, unity, and determination. As the fleet moved into open space, free and unchallenged, the galaxy itself seemed to shift. Signals from distant civilizations buzzed with fear and curiosity. Word would spread. Humans were no longer a hidden species on the edge of space. They were the unbound force, the apex of will, intelligence, and endurance. Elena looked at her crew. This is only the beginning. The galaxy will test us again, and we will be ready. Whatever comes, humans endure, humans adapt, and humans rise. The fleet sailed onward, into the starlit expanse, survivors of every battle behind them and the promise of a future unbound ahead. Humanity had faced the impossible and triumphed. The galaxy would never forget it. And somewhere, in the shadows of the distant stars, those who watched knew one undeniable truth. When humans rise, nothing, not fleets, not ancient powers, not the stars themselves, can hold them back.